to ReeaReads. My name is Rhea, and today we'll be discussing none other than When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. So this book, I've seen it all over Bookstagram, booktube for a minute now, and I'm like, okay, I've been following the author Alyssa Cole, and so it's been on my TBR list, to be read list, for a while, but finally in December 2020, I actually went and picked it up and I decided to read it because I was on break, and I read this in maybe a week. I'll say maybe a week, a little less than a week. And this little book is a big deal. It automatically became one of my favorite books, but this book I definitely recommend. So this book takes place in Brooklyn, New York. Sydney Green is our main character. So Sydney Green, she's a young African-American woman, and she is from Greenwood, Brooklyn, I want to say. She's from this charming town in Brooklyn. She grew up there, she moved away, and just like even I would say present day New York, there's a lot of gentrification going on, a lot of things changing. It's like you want your town to stay the same and you want your neighbors to remain the same, but things change, and it's just like you feel like you have no control over those changes, and that's kind of what was going on in the book. So Sydney, she's dealing with a lot. Her mom is sick, her best friend is there, she's constantly kind of just throwing all of her burdens on her best friend Drea. And we meet Theo in the book. So the book begins with a tour of the Brownstones in Brooklyn, and the tour is led by a white woman, and typically the main demographic that the tour appeals to are not people who are from the neighborhood. Obviously it's people from outside of the neighborhood, and the tour was like predominantly white. Sydney was the only person, and she thought it would be fun to go on this tour that's supposed to be telling people all these grand facts about her home, her neighborhood. So she goes on the tour, and she's really annoyed because the tour is covering like all these great facts about these historically important people who used to own these homes, but they were all colonizers. And she just knew from growing up there that there were like other facts about the people who actually either currently lived or most recently lived in the homes. And most of those people were Black people. They were people who like contributed greatly to the surrounding community, and they poured into the community and gave it its character. And so she was just saying, you know, a lot of things are missing in the tour, and she kept kind of speaking up, and people who were on the tour, they were getting frustrated with her. The woman who was facilitating the tour, she was getting frustrated with Sydney. She said, you know what, make your own tour if you want to keep spewing out these facts, but this is my job, and this is the information that has been approved and provided for me, so this is what I have. So Sydney took that and she said, you know what, I am going to make my own tour. So the book starts with Sydney saying, okay, I'm going to get my people together, my neighbors together, and use their wealth of knowledge, the local museums, the local churches, and really start to build a historical context for this neighborhood, so that when we have our block party, which was coming up soon, she could actually run through the tour for the first time. So through that, we meet Theo and Kim. Kim is a Karen. I'm gonna just let you know right now. It's 2021. If you don't know about Central Park Karen and who Karens are, you can look it up. So Karen was Theo's girlfriend. Karen and Theo moved into one of the Brownstones that was owned by someone that Sydney loved. And Karen was just really disgusting, honestly. And Karen didn't like the fact that Theo started to kind of befriend or even sympathize or talk to the Black neighbors in the neighborhood. And so there was a conflict between Kim and Theo, and so he was living in the brownstone that he helped pay for, but at some point the two of them, they were not seeing eye to eye. So he, without Kim's knowledge, he befriended Sydney. Sydney still gave him grief, but he became her intern, so to speak, and he kind of went along with her in the neighborhood to try to get information. Now, after every chapter, I really love the fact that there is like an insert showing like almost a text thread, and what it is it's like they have an app called Our Hood app, which I think is really cute. And it's supposed to be like almost like the block association, but in a forum. So say if you have a group me group, but they had an actual app for the neighborhood. And so everyone would put their concerns there. Some people would put noise complaints. Some people would complain about gentrification. A big thing in the book, there is a VernTech deal happening, and it's impending when the book starts. And so VernTech is supposed to be a hospital, almost a research institution, a space that's going to come into the neighborhood, provide contracts, provide employment, but obviously most of the neighborhood's inhabitants, the residents there, they're not in favor of the deal. So now we have a conflict between the people moving in, predominantly white families, and they're saying, you know what, we can't do anything for you people. You never like anything. Why is it that you aren't in favor of this deal? And the people who live there and they're from there, just like in real life, they're like, you don't understand the inherent things that will come from that deal. We're going to get uprooted every year. We have people getting uprooted from their homes, and somebody just magically shows up. And that was actually actively happening in the book. So this deal was underway. And on the flip side, the people coming in, the colonizers, they had their own secret chat, and it was called Rejuvenation. And then you have to stop and think, what are you rejuvenating? Why is it called Rejuvenation? You'll get to that. There's so much that happens in the book, and I don't want to spoil it, but it's a really, really great book. Ultimately, Sydney and Theo, they become really close. A lot of things are happening in the neighborhood. A lot of people are disappearing, and this contract is only getting closer and closer before it finally does close. And so there is a question behind, you know, why businesses and people are getting uprooted and why it's an issue for those people. Those people fought very hard to gain, you know, access to those neighborhoods years ago. And colonizers always exist, but you know, it's almost like you build your social capital and then you're infiltrated from the outside by greater powers. And I think it always happens. It constantly happens. And so the people coming in who want to knock everything down, it's always self-serving for their benefit, and they never really care. And so there were a lot of like real estate agents constantly badgering people. There were people who they had proof of ownership, they had deeds to land, and it was just taken away from them because the police could do it, the courts could do it in the neighborhood, and they just didn't have the power. And that was really sad because those things still actually happen. And also, I really want you to pay attention to the historical context. Sydney and other members of the neighborhood tried to explain to the other groups why they are against this hospital deal, and just think about you know, the discussions around like vaccines and why some marginalized groups might be against it. It might be because of the distrust. And I think the book lightly, if the book doesn't, it was me in my head. It was something that came up. I think the book lightly references just the historical past. Look at the past with the Tuskegee experiment. Look at a certain epidemic in the 80s that affected a specific group of people. A lot of things are like definitely organized in plain sight, and a lot of groups have reason to just be against things because it's to their detriment. It's not for the benefit of all people. And that's when privilege comes into play, because for you to not understand that something is a problem just because it is not your problem, that's privilege. And so it's a great book. There's a point in the story where you will think that you have a great hand on the plot, and then you'll learn that you really don't, and you'll be like, what is going on? Like, I love this book so much that I don't want to spoil it for anyone. Pay attention to Theo. At one point in the book, Theo's gonna look like the hero, and then you're gonna be like, hold on, who's this person? So I just really love this book. It was a great book, and I feel like it's really timely with everything that's going on. Every time I read books, of course, in the beauty of reading books, you start to paint your own picture in your head of like how the actual scenery is. And I just really thought of, I don't know why I thought of Spike Lee, She's Gotta Have It, the modern Netflix version. I thought of the modern Nola Darling, She's Gotta Have It, Brooklyn. All of the neighbors are like very vivid characters, and I just really thought of them and thought of the Brownstones in Brooklyn when I was reading this. And so I definitely recommend When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. Alyssa Cole also has penned some other books, which I do plan to read. It's so funny because if you're looking for this book, it's not in the fiction section in your bookstore. It'll probably be in the romance section because she is a romance author. But this is a thriller, as stated on the cover there. I think ultimately it's an expose on race, on class. It's an expose on, I would say, definitely legitimacy and trust as far as communities, organizations, and even medicine. So thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if you plan on reading this book, if you've read it already. Let me know what your favorite part is, who's your favorite character. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And also follow me on Instagram at ReeaReads. And also don't forget to follow my new beauty brand, which is Kismet Beauty Brand, on Instagram. And you can shop. I'm actually wearing Stardust lip gloss right now from my brand. And you can shop www.kismetbeautybrand.com. This is just like a shimmer, and I'm wearing it with the lip liner. So thank you for watching.